So our new unit is all about similarity. So we have been talking a lot about congruent. So congruent is when everything is exactly equal, right? So the angles and the sides are congruent. And when we were talking about triangles, there were a bunch of different ways that we could prove congruence, right? We could do side, 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 angle, side, angle, angle, side, and HL. Now, if you look, there's a reason why angle is not a way for triangles to be congruent. As we can see in the diagram below, triangle ABC and triangle DEF have three congruent angles, right? There are corresponding congruent angles. But clearly, these two shapes are not the same size. This is what we would call similar shapes. So two polygons, so two shapes, are similar if their vertices can be matched, so if like their endpoints can be matched so that the corresponding angles are all congruent and the ratios of lengths of corresponding sides are the same. So the sides are not going to be congruent, but they all have to sort of follow the same pattern, right? So if we look here, right? So if this is our symbol for similar, so if these triangles are similar, then angle A and angle D must be congruent. Angle B and angle E, and angle C and angle F. Now, when we're talking about the ratios of lengths, a ratio compares two different things, right? So if I look AB over DE, right? My first one, AB is 6, DE is 9. And if I simplify that, I will get 2 over 3. So the ratio of AB to DE is 2 over 3. Now, if I compare the rest of my ratios of sides, right? So BC is 4, EF is 6. Again, I will get 2 over 3. AC is 3, DF is 4.5. Again, I will get 2 over 3. So because the ratio of the lengths is all the same, they're proportional, so then we can say the triangles are similar. So let's do some practice. So triangle GHI is similar to triangle JKL. Find the measurement of side JK. Round your answer to the nearest tenth if necessary. So they tell us let me make this smaller. So G and J correspond. So G and J, H and K, and then L and I. The colors will help you sort of identify what goes with what. Because now if I want to find the measurement of JK, right, I'm looking for this side. So if the triangles are similar, then I know the angles are congruent and the sides are proportional. So I know that GI over JI has to be equal to the same ratio as GH over JH, because as we saw above, they should all be equal to the same thing. So now I fill in the information that I know. GI is 5, because it's right here. Hold on, I wrote JI, it should be JL. JL is 19. I did the same thing here, so it's not JH, it's JK. GH is 7.4. And now I don't know what JK is, so that is my X value. So now this is a proportion. So in order to solve a proportion, we have to cross multiply. So I have 5x is equal to, let me grab calculator so I don't mess up doing mental math. So we're doing 7.4 times 19, which gives me 140.6. Last step, divide by 5 to get x is equal to 28.12. Now, if we look and we wanted to check 5 over 19, if I write this as a decimal, gives me about 0.26 and then a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And if I try the same thing with my new, I end up with the same number. So this tells me that I did it correctly because the ratios are the same. So again, you're going to repeat the same process. So we're given similarity. So we know that there needs to be a consistent ratio of sides. So I am going to label using different colors just to make it easier. So I'm with D and G, E and H, F and I. So I want to find the measurement of IG. So I know that DF over IG has to be the same as DE over GH. So let's fill in what I have. DF is 13, IG is missing, DE is 18, GH is 5. Cross multiply. So we have 18x is equal to 65. Divide by 18. And we get x is equal to 3.61, repeating. But if we look back, I didn't read. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. I didn't read for the first one as well. So if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, I'll round to 28.1. Round to the nearest tenth will be 3.6. Number 3, same process. L is corresponding with O, M and P, N and Q. So now we want to find the measurement of QO. So QO is right here. So again, we set up a proportion. So NM is this going to be corresponding to QP, and then NL, QO. So we have 5 over 21 is equal to 7 over x. Cross multiply. 5x is equal to 147. Divide by 5. To get x is equal to 29.4. Again, we're given that the triangles are similar, so I know the sides have to be in proportion. So C corresponds to F, B corresponds to E, and A corresponds to D. A, yes. So now I want to find the measurement of FD. So FD is purple to green. So I know that CA over FD has to be the same as our given ratio, which is CB over FE. So I know 40 over X is equal to 53 over 26. Cross multiply. 53x is equal to 1040. Divide both sides by 53. We're going to get a long decimal, but I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So I'm looking at 6 and I looked next door. So my final answer will be 19.6. Again, we're given similar triangles. So F and I correspond, G and J, H and K. So now I want to find the measurement of IJ. So I'm going to mark it on my diagram. So I know that FG and IJ have to correspond to GH and JK. Fill in what we have. 25 over X is equal to 16 over 49. And now we will cross multiply to solve. So 16x equals 25 times 49, 1,225. Divide both sides by 16. We get x is equal to 75.5625. Now we're going to round to the nearest tenth. Look next door, 75.6. Same process, so C and F correspond, G and D, and then E and H. So let's look, we're looking for HF. So we have EC corresponds to HF, and we have DC corresponds to GF. So 11 over X is equal to 6.9 over 25. Cross multiply. $275. Divide by 6.9. Again, we're going to get a long decimal, but we're going to round to the nearest tenth. Look next door, we're going to round up, 39.9. Same exact process again, so I'm going to highlight to show my corresponding. F matches I, E matches H, and D matches G. I am looking for IG, so I know that F, D matches I, G, and E, F matches H, I. Fill in what we know. And again, cross multiply and solve. So we have 55x equals 704.6. Divide by 55 on both sides. X is equal to 12.81, dot, dot, dot. We're going to round down to 12.8. And the last one, triangle LMN. So L, O, M to P, N to Q. And we're looking for OP. It's important that we're labeling because for some problems, they might give you more information than you need. And if you're not labeling, you might set up your proportions incorrectly. So I know this might seem a bit silly right now, but if you don't match the colors and make sure that your proportion is correct, you will end up with an incorrect answer. And as we can see with questions like this, the math is not that difficult to actually solve for, but it would be kind of silly to lose points just because we're not taking the time. So again, we're cross multiplying. 57x is equal to 406. So again, we get a long decimal, round to the nearest tenth, so we're going to round down to 7.1. So again, similar shapes have congruent angles, but their sides are going to be in proportion because the ratios have to be the same. So you're not going to be able to have congruent sides, you're going to be able... Okay, so looking at your homework for tonight, So we're given that these sides are similar, so we know that the sides have to be in proportion. So let's look through. So we have these two sides are matching. So let's actually go through and highlight as we go to sort of show the patterns that we see. So x and 15. And then we have 32 and 12. So what we should be able to see here is that we're going to have to set up a different proportion than what we were used to. So, because if I was going to do it like I was doing it for the classwork, I would do, for example, x over 15 is equal to 24 over 9, or x over 15 is equal to 32 over 12, right? So there's a couple of different ways you could approach a problem like this. You could solve for x in one of these two ways and then check your answers here to see which one matches. Or we could also look at it in a different way where if the ratios, right, of here we're doing same color to same color, same color to same color, right? So if we look here, none of these options when I have the x over 15 matches my possible 2. So I know that it's not going to be one of these guys, right? Because the order is wrong, right? If x would have to match with 24, x does not match with 24 here. X would have to match with 32, x does not match with 32 here, right? So going with that logic, right? X matches with, for example, 24 here. X and 24 would go together. So then in our matching one, 15 and 9. If we look, so x and 15 would have to be across, 24 and 9 would have to be across. They are not, so that leaves me with 3. Again, if that confuses you, solve one of the proportions you know have to be true, and then compare your answers. Foolproof way, even if you don't quite understand the different ways that you can set up the proportions, that you can use the strategy you already know to solve a multiple choice question. Now, in the accompanying diagram, we have similar triangles. We're given some side measurements, and we're asking for the measurement of side ML, right? So side ML. This is an example of why it's important that you're highlighting so you know which ones actually matter, right? So Q, L, M, R, and S. So let's go through and highlight. So Q and L, and then R and M, right? Because now we can see I want the measurement of ML. So ML is green and orange, right? So green and orange means that I need to use X, and over here it is 30. Now in this triangle, the only side that I have measured is 7, so I would have to use 7. And here we're looking for orange purple, so it's going to be over 21. So we cross multiply and solve to get that X has to be 10. So again, we're now looking for the value of N. So triangle A is similar to triangle B. They didn't give us sort of the breakdown of like the letters, but if we look at the matching angles that they did label, that will let me highlight to make sure that my proportion is correct when I'm setting it up. If I want to know N plus 2, that will correspond to 10. I'm given 3, which corresponds to 6. So we cross multiply. 30 is equal to 6 times n plus 2, which is 30 is equal to 6n plus 12. Now first subtract 12. You get 18 equals 6n, for a final answer of n is equal to 3. If they asked you for the length of that side, you would not be done, because you would have to say the length of the side is n plus 2. Therefore, I would have to plug 3 back in to get 3 plus 2 for a length of 5. Scalene triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. Scalene means that all 3 sides are different lengths. So you'll have 3 different proportions. So first thing I want to do is highlight to make sure that I'll get my proportions right. And I can even go through and start highlighting to make it easier for myself. Before I even read the possible answer choices, because we are looking for what is false. Okay, so if a triangle is similar, then I know that the angles have to be congruent, right? So the corresponding angles have to be congruent. So if I look here, it goes green, purple, orange, green, purple, orange. So that is corresponding angles, so they have to be congruent. If I look down here, I have green, orange, purple, orange, green, purple. Those are not corresponding angles. You do not know if they're congruent. And actually, because it is a scalene triangle, you know that there are not 2 congruent angles. So I'm not even going to look at 1 and 2, and I can already tell that 4 is going to be the correct answer, because again, we're looking for false. And if I look up here, and if I wanted to check, right, green, orange, orange, purple, green, orange, orange, purple, green, purple, green, purple, green, purple, orange, purple, orange, purple, right? All of the rest of them have a similar pattern. Number 4 is the only one that does not. So if the triangles are similar that I'm given, angle A is equal to 50, angle 3 is equal to 30. What is the measurement of angle X? So if I look at my order of letters, angle X would match with angle B. That's the one that I am not given, right? So they have to be congruent. A triangle has 180 degrees. So if I'm given the other 2 angles, I can solve and find that how much is left has to be angle B, which is 100 degrees.